For decades, the global consensus for any major tournament was simple. Brazil was the favorite. Their 5 World Cup titles built a legacy that made victory feel like a historical inevitability. That history provided a psychological edge. Opponents often felt the weight of that yellow shirt in the tunnel, facing a reputation so powerful that the match felt decided before the first whistle. But that psychological monopoly has been disrupted. A new type of opponent has emerged, one that acknowledges Brazil's history without being intimidated by it. Brazil's concern isn't based on market value or individual superstardom. It's based on a shift in how opponents approach them, no longer playing to minimize a loss, but playing with the expectation of a win. Before 2022, analysts focused almost exclusively on the traditional giants of Europe and South America. Morocco was largely viewed as an outsider, with most experts predicting a standard group stage exit. Inside the Moroccan camp, the perspective was different. Their squad was composed of players who had spent years integrated into the elite systems of Europe's top domestic leagues. This generation reached its collective peak at the same moment. They arrived in Qatar as a cohesive unit that had already tested itself against the world's best players on a weekly basis. This explains why a nation with 5 World Cups now views Morocco as a specific tactical hurdle, a team that has proven it can neutralize the advantages Brazil has relied on for years. Morocco entered the 2022 World Cup with a plan built on organization rather than luck. They didn't play like underdogs. They played like a system designed to exploit elite opposition. The match against Belgium proved the effectiveness of that system. They held a star-studded offensive unit at bay through 90 minutes of strict tactical discipline. Against Spain, they demonstrated their endurance. They allowed their opponents to control possession, staying patient while Spain's frustration grew, eventually forcing the match into a psychological battle they were better prepared to win. By the time they faced Portugal in the quarterfinals, the team had effectively moved past the intimidation factor of traditional football royalty. They defended their lead with a level of composure that few expected from a first-time semifinalist. These results validated their approach. Morocco moved from being a surprise story to a team with a defined, repeatable tactical identity that elite nations could no longer ignore. Brazil has a specific vulnerability that has surfaced repeatedly over the last decade. They struggle against highly disciplined defensive blocks that refuse to leave space between the lines. This illustrates Morocco's defensive architecture. While Brazil looks for fluid movement, Morocco's interlocking grid remains rigid, absorbing the pressure. It strikes the moment an opponent overcommits. As Brazil pushes forward, they leave themselves open to the rapid counterattacks Morocco excels at. The success of this resistance relies on the goalkeeper. Bono's performance in Qatar showed Brazil that even if they find a gap, they still have to beat a player who remains calm under extreme pressure. On the other end, Morocco has the speed to capitalize on those mistakes. Players like Achraf Hakimi can transition from a defensive position to an attacking threat in seconds, punishing teams that lose their defensive shape. Supporting this is a relentless midfield work rate. It functions as a safety net. If an individual player is beaten, a teammate is already moving to cover the space, preventing the defense from collapsing. Brazil's style thrives on creative freedom, but that freedom requires space to operate. Morocco's collective discipline is built to remove that space, making pure talent an unreliable tool for victory. For decades, there was a quiet assumption that African and Arab teams could compete, but not necessarily win a World Cup. There was respect for their talent, but a lack of belief in their tactical longevity. Morocco's run changed that perception. Seeing a team from this region systematically defeat established European powers provided a concrete example of how to bridge the gap between passion and performance. For the next generation of players, the goal has changed. It is no longer about the prestige of simply being at the tournament. It is about the expectation of competing for the trophy itself. Morocco's achievement provided a new blueprint for teams outside the traditional centers of power, showing that a combination of elite experience and tactical discipline can neutralize historical advantages. The 2026 World Cup represents the next major meeting for these two philosophies. It will be the venue where Morocco's defensive structure is tested against Brazil's renewed attacking ambitions. Brazil faces the immense pressure of proving that their creative style can still overcome a highly organized opponent. For them, a win is necessary to re-establish their place at the top of football's hierarchy. Morocco has the opportunity to show their 2022 performance was the start of a consistent era. Their goal is to prove they are now a permanent fixture among the world's elite nations. Brazil views Morocco with caution because they see a team that has lost its fear. When an opponent stops being intimidated by your history, the game becomes a battle of tactics and will, and that is a battle Morocco has already shown they can win.